Hey everyone, and welcome to another video, and this video is about my 10 best to worst video games of 2021. I've rearranged the screen like this, just so you can't see the games at the bottom, because I want to surprise you and stuff. So this year did not play that many games. I think I just played exactly 10 games this year. Maybe with the exception of some betas, which I'm not going to include here because they're betas and don't really want to count them. So let's get started. I'm just gonna start with the worst. Before that, categorize this to my top 3 best. What I think are some good games, some bad ones, and the worst one, which is just reserved for one. And just gonna start out with Call of Duty Vanguard being the absolute worst game of 2021. I already talked about this in my Call of Duty tier list video, and I already gave like a little mini review about that, and still applies today. What I think my thoughts on it. Terrible campaign, terrible characters, multiplayer is just bland, and the worst zombies in any Call of Duty game. So it was all just terrible, and that's why it's the worst. For the bad category, I'm gonna go with Life is Strange: True Colors. Of all the Life is Strange games, this one's easily the weakest for me. I love 1 and 2. Before the Storm, I wasn't really a fan of that. I thought it was kind of unnecessary, but this one just didn't work for me. Didn't like the characters, wasn't a big fan of the ability introduced in this game, which is hearing people's emotions, seeing their emotions, and you can also like read their thoughts as well. That's just all there is to say, since it's just kind of a storytelling game. You walk around, interact with characters, just hear people talk and all that. There's not much on the gameplay side of things. There was like a cool moment where it was sort of like this, where the gameplay mechanics have sort of changed into this RPG, turn-based RPG sort of game, and you have to like use your imagination as to, when you're attacking with a sword, using potions and using magic and all that. That wasn't bad. It was a nice drift from the usual gameplay, which is walking around and all that. I mean, I don't have a problem with it as long as it's good. I love the first 2 games. This one just did not work for me. But by no means, people love it still. But by no means, don't let my opinion, lay you straight from, if you want to play the game or not. Next, bad. Well, Far Cry 6. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not good either. I think some aspects of it are better than the previous Far Cry 5, or Far Cry New Dawn technically, but was the previous game, but in that game. I think there's some aspects that are better here than in Far Cry 5, but overall the game is usual Far Cry, is typical Far Cry really. There's nothing more to say. I think Far Cry 5, Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, it's that basically, just with some tweaks. And ever since Far Cry 3, I just feel like all the other Far Cry games have just been clones of Far Cry 3, just with some tweaks here and there. And Far Cry 6, no different. Massive open world, a lot of outposts to liberate and stuff, all that stuff to do. And you got the main villain who hasn't really gripped me as much as previous villains. Yep, that's all there is to say. Just typical Far Cry 6 is just the main point. Just that's why it's in the bad pile. Next is, what else have I got here? Last one for the bad pile is Tales of Arise. People do love this Tales game. It's not my favorite Tales game. I think it's good, but there was a point where like the gameplay was good, graphics looked the best, characters were actually pretty likable for the most part. Not all of them for me, but I like most of the cast. And the thing that really like pisses me off about it is the first half of the game was great. Then when I got to the second half of the game, I hated it. I didn't like what they were doing with it. Didn't like how they ended it. I just hate those kind of endings. I don't want to say anything. Don't want to spoil it, of course, but it's similar to that of Tales of Vesperia, for example, and I just really hated it. But the first half of the game was good. Gameplay was solid. love the characters, but yeah, that second half really just it really irked me. I really hate it. But by no means, people still love it, so you can try it out, I guess. Not my favorite Tales game, like I said. My favorite one is still Tales of the Abyss. And yeah, that'll be do it for the bad. For the good, Lost Judgment. Like if you see my Yakuza tier list, I did throw Judgment in there. Said how much I like it. This game I also do like as well. There are some things about that. It's just stuff from me actually. Overall, better than Judgment, but there are some things that I prefer in Judgment than I do in Lost Judgment. But overall, in terms of gameplay, Lost Judgment is much better, where they add a new style, the Snake style, which is also a great style as well. New X moves, new gameplay mini games, like you got parkour and now you got stealth. They have toned down drastically the tail missions. In fact, I think in the main campaign there's only one tailing mission, and that's it. That was amazing because tailing missions were terrible in the first game, and they toned it down a lot in Lost Judgment. One thing I didn't like though was the chasing minigames. I think it just drags on too much. I think they should have at least halved the time. And what you have to do is just chase the other person, and you have to wait until the health bar slowly decreases to the end, and then you can catch him. And it just takes way too damn long. And it's really easy as well. That's the thing. So it's not much skill involved there either. There's too many quick time events in that minigame. Too many quick time events overall. I think that's another problem. Like too many quick time events in some of the minigames, like parkour, the stealth. I mean, I take it over tailing any day, but still pretty simple. Like you just hide behind a corner, throw a coin, or blind the enemy with some smoke bombs, and that's it. Just move on. There's not much to go on there. But they added some new minigames, which is great. Skateboarding, the school minigames as well, like dancing. There's also boxing as well. There's also a fourth style, even though it's unlocked by DLC, paid DLC. There is a boxing style as well, making 4 styles in total if you do have that, which is great for variety and experimentation. And in terms of story, still good. I like some things they did here, but I think Judgment had some things I liked there that this one tried to do, but didn't impact me as much. But overall, if I say what's the better game, Judgment or Lost Judgment, I say Lost Judgment is the overall better game. Since I already know what to expect since I played Judgment, like the awesomeness I got, like the hype I got from the gameplay was toned down when I played Lost Judgment, just because I know what to expect from Judgment. But still a great game. And yeah, I think that's all I got to say about that. Next is Hitman 3. Last of the Hitman trilogy, the recent Hitman trilogy, and yeah, it's good. The reason I put it in good is it's a good game, solid level design, smooth gameplay as well. Even on the PS4, you can actually unlock the frame rate to 60 frames, which is so smooth. I played on the PS4 as well, and that was a good thing. But there's not really much else to like. It's just more of the same, like Hitman 1 and 2. If you play those, this is very similar. I don't know if they add anything different gameplay-wise, except for like a camera that they add where you can scan to unlock shortcuts or hack security, like hack those security doors with it. And yeah, that's cool and all, but that's it. That's all there is. Like that's all there is new to it. There's also the VR as well for all 3 games. I tried the VR. It's not good. I just think it's in this game. It's just like a gimmick. It's just you don't use the one controllers. You just use the actual controller, and you move your hand around like this, and it's just not very accurate when you try to shoot things, and it just doesn't feel too good. So I didn't bother with that. But yeah, if you like PSVR, that's fine. It looks great in VR as well, but yeah, I don't recommend it if you're actually playing the game, all the way through. And yeah, that's all there is to say. Next is 12 minutes, and I thought it was really great. Like I loved it. That was basically what you're stuck in a time loop where you're in this small apartment. Someone's gonna come in and kill you basically, and what you have to with that information you have to unravel this sort of mystery, because the more you experiment and like figure out, oh, what if you try this or do this, then like more options and start to unlock like new conversation dialogue, and since you know what's coming beforehand, you can plan what you're gonna do next. So, for example, since you know the guy's coming through the door, you can use a light switch that short circuits when it's pushed, and when the guy comes in to push it, it electrocutes him. So just because you know that, that's one thing you can do to save yourself. But yeah, it's a pretty short game actually. If you know what you're doing, I say you can be in like under an hour. But yeah, still be in a day. So I just couldn't get off it really. And yeah, I tell you the weakest part of the game is when, you get caught and the loop resets and you kind of have to go through all again. So there's a lot of just going straight back and repeating the same actions over and over again, and just maybe like tweaking one thing you did just to see what happens. But yeah, overall, great game, solid acting as well. There's some big name actors in here, and yeah, that's all there is to say. Pretty good game. So for the third best game, these are reserved for games I actually love. I was excited. I was enjoying playing them like a lot. And third game goes to Resident Evil Village. This game is like a hybrid between Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 4, and that worked so well in this game. It's more action focused than the horror focused than it was in Resident Evil 7, which is fine by me. I know Resident Evil 7 is all about survival horror, but I'm not a big fan of horror, like in terms of jump scares and all that. But with this one, they toned that down in favor of action, and that was fine. There's still tense moments in this game. There's even a section dedicated to like scaring the crap out of you, which did scare the crap out of me. But overall, yeah, great game. Gameplay was solid. When I say it's like Resident Evil 4, I mean you got the merchant, for example, where you can buy and sell your weapons. You can upgrade your weapons. You can also buy ammo as well. You can sell treasures. You can find them throughout the game and sell them as well. You can combine treasures to make them more valuable and sell them for more money. So yeah, it's like Resident Evil 4 like that, and there's also like a village and a castle like in Resident Evil 4, and there's sort of like a refinery factory area in this game, which is, I guess, it's kind of like the island as well in Resident Evil 4. So if there's a Resident Evil 4 remake, I wouldn't be surprised that they reused some assets here or some UI as well for Resident Evil 4 remake. But yeah, overall solid game. Great characters as well. There's a nice it ties the bow at the end of the sort of Ethan story, and yeah, I'd like to see where it goes from here. What's next? Yes, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Now, even though this is a remaster of 3 games, and there's 3 games in it, so yeah, I'm still gonna count it because I love this so much. I don't know if that's if that's sad in a way, like one of the best games of the last year was a remaster of all the games. But yeah, what can I say? Mass Effect was amazing, and still love it again here. And this is my 3rd time playing through Mass Effect, and still love it, still amazing. It's not much else to say. If you know Mass Effect, then this is it right here. There's not much else they added. They improved the frame rate, improved the graphics as well, mainly for the first game. They added all the DLC except for one in Mass Effect 1, which was like sort of a wave-based DLC. It didn't bother me too much. But yeah, it was still great replaying this game again. I actually did more than I did in the first two games. I actually, like, just explored around, talked to my crewmates. Every opportunity I get, I always talk to my crewmates, and see where their stories begin and end. And tell you the truth, I love the second game more than 1 and 3, but this time when I played it, I actually love the third game more than the first two, which is strange because the third game I did have some problems, but when I played it again, I just don't know why. I just kind of loved it. I love how they ties up the end of characters that you have new characters and pre-existing characters. I like the DLC in this game. There's, I think, Ashes to Ashes, or I think that's what it's called, where you get a new character that in your team, and it's best to do that mission as soon as you can unlock it, just so you can see that, because there's additional dialogue for the new character for for the rest of the game, basically. There's also the Citadel DLC, which is easily the best DLC for me, where you're in the Citadel and you basically get under attack by a secret organization, and the payoff is just so good. The amount of character development here is just amazing. If you love the characters in Mass Effect, this is the DLC for you. It's basically a fan service DLC, and it's just done so well. You get to see things from your character. I think I said the characters, your crew, is the most important thing here. Is the best part of it, and in Citadel it just really shines. So, for example, you get an apartment, and you can invite certain people to just hang out with, like have 1-to-1, maybe be 2-on-1. Like, for example, like with previous characters like Rex, who wasn't in your team in 2, is now on your team for this DLC in 3, by the way. And you get like a nice interaction between Rex and Grunt, and Shepard as well. So that, for example, and even if you romance certain characters, that is the best part. When you romance certain characters, or one character, because that's what you can romance in these games. But once you romance a character, you get you get like an alternate cutscene with them, rather than just you come in, hang out, say whatever. But in this one, there's like something more. Like it changes, and it's so good. Anything else to say? I played this on the PS4, and I favored frame rate over the graphical, the Nova graphics. There's like an option for that in this, and favorite the frame rate because I played this on Insanity, and you gotta be precise, and it's really hard to do that with 30 frames. I don't even know if it was 30 frames. It felt less, but just hard. It was just hard to sort of, precisely aim in Mass Effect. But with frame rate 60 frames, buttery smooth, and this game still looked good as well, even in the first game, which had all those graphical updates. So I recommend doing that if you're getting this on console. Well, specifically PS4, like base console, base previous gen console. Great game. And to my surprise, the first game is actually It Takes Two. I actually got this on Christmas, and I played with my brother, and we just had a amazing time. I did not expect this to happen. I thought Mass Effect was surely my #1 game of the year. Game of the year as well for last year. Not my favorite game, but also what I think is game of the year. But then It Takes Two came along, and we just loved it. So what this game is, yes, a fully co-op game. Like about, I think for us it took like maybe 8 hours to beat, and it could take shorter, but that's the thing with this game. I recommend playing it with like someone who just enjoys it as much as you do, like who would enjoy games as much as you do. Like you definitely have a good banter as well, good back and forth. Because me and my brother played it, and we just had a good freaking time. Like I haven't laughed so much at it like ever, like in my life, like continuously, just like gasping for air. I don't know why. It was so fun, so funny to play. I think who you play with is definitely an important factor as well. And this game also introduces new mechanics with every chapter. It ditches the old ditches whatever mechanic you were using that chapter and gives you some new ones, which definitely works in this game. It's essentially platformer, but then they introduce these new mechanics, and you basically have to work to get these mechanics complement each other. So you can't really use one mechanic without the other. In most cases, I think sometimes in other chapters, yeah, you could. Like for example, there's a gun that you can use like sap that shoots sap, and with another character you could shoot their gun at it, which is like a match, and basically explode it. So, and you have to use it to defeat enemies. So yeah, like that for example, that they go hand in hand. And yeah, the best part about this game is just the laughs you had, like just having a good time. I think if I didn't have that experience with the right person, then it probably wouldn't have got to be number one. But because of that, it just made the game so much better, and we really enjoyed ourselves. And surprisingly, that became my number one. It was even Game of the Year as well last year. So yeah, well deserving. I did not expect that. So yeah, that goes to my number one. Now, yeah, that's all I played. Yeah, I think this is all I played that came out this year. I did play other games that came out last year. This year, fucking not this year, 2021. That came out in 2020. I played games that came out in 2020 and played in 2021. So I wouldn't count those. So for yes, this is my list, and this is it. So don't have any next gen games. If I did, they'll definitely be up here most likely, because really do want to get one. And yeah, but for now, this is all I played. Is more than I played in 2020. I think I only played like 5 games there. So yeah, guess it's a bit of an improvement. But still, that's all I played, and that's the list. So thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time.